resets, loads up, heaving one deep, and it is caught!
Touchdown, Sun Devils!
Do you believe it? Arizona State wins on a Hail Mary!
9 years ago today, the Sun Devils did the damn thing, the Hail Mary. 9 years ago today, October 4th, 2014. Are you kidding me? That's setting up to be a phenomenon. I know you got your mouth full.
I wasn't ready for that at all. I was shoving this taco in my mouth immediately before we went live.
Oh, man. Guys, welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show. I'm Anthony Totri. This guy right here, Senor Taco himself, is Shawn, DePaz.
Yo.
We got a lot to get into today. Kenny responded to what Coach Prime had to say the other day in terms of the two almost working together. So we've got that soundbite that we'll play for you guys. We've also got defensive coordinator Brian Ward talking a little bit about where the ASU defense is right now and about how there's no moral victories. We've got a guest that we're going to get into here in a moment. But Shawn, as always, man, how you doing today? I know you've been running all over the place. You were shoving your face with Taco Bell earlier.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. You know, I had to go out to the ice den this morning, that part wasn't unfortunate. Did a Coyote show out there, but I had very little time, so I kind of just had to get what was on the way to the studio. So listen. There's no circumstance in which I'm getting Taco Bell over a legal pizza if I can help it.
That's fair.
But I couldn't help it today. So forgive me, Max.
Just be better tomorrow.
I'm gonna try. Be at a legal pizza Saturday.
Can you promise?
I promise you that I'll have a legal pizza the next week.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What day is it today? Wednesday?
Yeah,
no, I'm doing great. I
Diamondbacks
can't
Day?
complain. I can't complain too much, man. Like I said the other day, I finished the move, chilling with that. Now
Sounds
it's
nice.
just, waiting for ASU to maybe get back on track. That'd be nice. That'd be a great way for the rest of the season to go. Going into the bye week with a little bit of a dub here, that'd be a lot of fun. But we do have a guest. We've got our man Jake from DNVR. If you haven't seen anything that's gone on with Coach Prime, which if you haven't, you're living under a rock.
Literally.
But a lot of it's probably from this guy right here. Like we said, Jake from DNVR. See you, the Buffs at all times. Jake, you are just pumping out content, dude.
It's a grind, man. It's been a lot, but it's been a lot of fun. This team, Coach Prime always keeps you on your toes. So you just got to be ready. You just got to be ready to pump out stuff as needed.
What's this season kind of been like for just like aside from CU and Coach Prime? We know about all the stuff that's gone on from a national perspective, but what has it been like from your perspective?
Exhausting. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of fun though, man. This team is the talk of the nation, obviously, but just the way that Coach Prime has been able to, just build this roster, the talent that we've seen come in. I mean, we can talk about the game from last year. You guys saw it. I mean, they were terrible last year. So just to have a competent football team, something, that you can turn the film on a Monday after the game and you don't feel like you're wasting your time. That's just been a blessing in and of itself. So it's been really fun.
I mean, what is specifically the Coach Prime experience been like? I feel like he obviously has a little bit of a reputation of being, like a prima donna, fair or not. Like, has it been like a generally pleasant experience dealing with everything that comes with Deion Sanders?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's been a lot of attention thrown, at you at once. Not all of it positive, a lot of negative, a lot of hate. But it's just been amazing. It's been busy. It's been, I don't know, always learning, always trying new things just to see what works, really. So it's been a crazy learning experience. It's wild for me to look back and feel like it's only been 10 months, but man, it's been a long 10 months.
Yeah. I feel like everything was elevated.
Yeah.
Like the moment that happened, the whole thing just kind of it took off, obviously, for the better. Kind of looking forward to this matchup on Saturday. Again, I think there's just a lot of people that when they think of CU, it's Prime and it's Shedeur. But okay, and Travis Hunter. I'll throw Travis Hunter in there as well. But for folks that haven't watched a lot of CU getting ready for that Saturday matchup when they come to Tempe and take on Kenny Dillingham's Sun Devils, who are some other guys that maybe ASU fans should keep an eye on?
Sure. I mean, yeah, you started off well with Shedeur and Travis there. Obviously, Travis is going to be out after taking that late hit against CSU. Sounds like he's going to be out for a while. But Omari Miller, a freshman wide receiver who really exploded onto the scene last week, didn't even have a target going into last week's game, let alone a reception, and went off for nearly 200 yards. He's a guy to look out for. Xavier Weaver's kind of been Shedeur's go-to receiver really throughout the entire year. I think he's the leading receiver on the team as it stands right now. A little banged up right now, so we'll see how much you see from him. But he's really grown a connection with Michael Harrison, too. He's a guy who's actually been on this roster quite a while. I think going back to 2020, he's also a walk-on. And he's just been able to change positions, too. He was originally a wide receiver, and now he's playing tight end. And, you look at him, he doesn't look like, Jalen Conyers, for example. He's not 6'5", 240-some pounds. I mean, this is a guy who's really in between, big receiver, small tight end. But he's been really kind of Shedeur's security blanket to this point. Dylan Edwards is another explosive guy offensively. Defensively, Shiloh should be back. He also had an internal injury, which is weird. We've had 2 internal injuries already to this point. But it seems like he's gearing up ready to get back to practice and play this weekend. And then Cormani McLean, the 5-star freshman at cornerback, and Omarion Cooper. He's a FSU transfer at corner as well. I mean, the strength of this team is what I just laid out right there. It's the perimeters. It's the wide receivers, the corners, the safeties. That's what everyone expected coming into this year. And they've been able to get by in situations, with their defensive line, with their edge rushers, with their offensive line. But it is kind of a week-by-week case, really, to see how well they play.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, obviously, you can talk about all the offensive skill players, but obviously that does start and kind of end with Shedeur. What makes him special? I feel like there's a lot of people who formed opinions on him just on the name and haven't actually watched him play. Like, what is it about him that makes him not just Deion's son, but a legitimate top-tier D1 quarterback?
I mean, this guy is just, Coach Prime, his dad, calls him Grown. And he's called him that from a long time. That's what his name is in his phone, is GROWN. And this guy is just so mature, man. He's someone who's learned a lot actually under Tom Brady. Tom Brady's kind of taken him under his wing. They text a lot back and forth. So this guy is just, he's so mature beyond his years. He's so flatlines when it comes to his emotions too. I mean, you can see him, third down, I guess, and a first down, game on the line or first play of the game. He's always got the same demeanor. Just a great football mind too, man. Obviously been around the game for a long, long time because his dad is Deion Sanders. But this guy is just taken in so much coaching, so much learning since he was a little kid, really, and has just applied it to almost every facet of his game, every facet of being a quarterback. He's a great leader. He's very confident, of course. You kind of have to be, I guess, when you're Deion Sanders' son, but he has that part of Coach Prime specifically. And just, man, that's all off the field. On the field, this guy is just, he can do it all. I already mentioned his poise. He can run around. He can make plays behind the line of scrimmage. He can take off. If you give him an open lane up the middle of the field, he's going to go for 10, 15 yards at least. He's got amazing accuracy and timing. He's really like a coach on the field. He understands this offense so well. He's just been around the game for so long. The guy he's got it, if that means, I kind of hate when people say that, but he really does have it, man.
Yeah, no, it's certainly going to be, I think, an interesting game, and I do want to get to that matchup, but just kind of looking back to when we were all in Vegas, right, and we were there for media day, and the coaches were coming around, and the players were coming around, and obviously we had our conversations about everything, and it's just crazy to think the hype around these two programs at that point, and then just to see the trajectory of where they're at. And I think it's been tough, at least from our end. I want to get your opinion on Arizona State and just that perspective of the whole thing, because I think there's a lot of people locally who do still really, really believe in what Kenny Dillingham is building. We've heard from Lincoln Riley. We obviously heard from Coach Prime. We've heard from Gundy. So many coaches that say that they see what Arizona State is building, but obviously the results have yet to be yielded quite yet. I guess, what is your perspective on Arizona State and just the way that the season has gone thus far?
Obviously a little unfortunate, with the Rashada injury, just the weird, circumstance of the first game, with the dust storm coming in, kind of, putting off momentum at that point. And the team has been fighting. I watched the USC game, man, and it was impressive to watch them fight. Scadaboo is just amazing. That guy does everything. He's like your own, like, Travis Hunter in a way. What can't the guy do at this point? But I mean, Anthony, if you remember when we were talking, I think before the game last year, I think both coaches had been fired at that point, and we both talked about Kenny Dillingham. Obviously,
Yeah.
you guys, ASU has the connection with Kenny Dillingham. You saw it last year when he was at Oregon. The way he spoke when he was able to speak, what he was doing in terms of their play design. The guy he gets football at another level that most coaches don't at his age. And I truly believe, they've taken advantage of the transfer portal. Other than CU, ASU, I believe, in the Pac-12 or in the nation, had the most transfers in.
Mhm.
So he understands the modern day football. He's obviously a young guy. He gets the modern player. I mean, it's rough right now. I know, 1-4 is not where you guys want to be. But again, I mean, the way he's been able to bring players in, the caliber too. I mean, this team is competing week in, week out. I don't think this is going to be an easy game for CU. I mean, who knows what happens late in the fourth quarter and stuff. But, CU struggled to get off to strong starts in almost every single game other than TCU, really. So that's an opportunity for ASU. Kenny Dillingham, though, man, I mean, he's as advertised for me. He's been very impressive, and you can count me in as a believer in him, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the slow starts for CU. Like, why do you think that happens? Like, what do you think the problem is there?
That's a great question. Obviously, they've struggled running the ball. So, they don't have that crutch to kind of go to. They kind of have to get into this screen game in order, like an extension of their running game in order to try to simply move the ball, 5-6 yards at a time. And teams have really zoned in on that ever since that TCU game because they really abused TCU in that regard, just with their screen game out, not just out of the backfield, but on the perimeter. So teams have keyed in on that. Obviously, the offensive line isn't great either. I think teams have realized if you bring pressure and, Shedeur's back there waiting for a route to develop down the field, you can just get to Shedeur before he even has a chance. So it's been a combination of those things. Obviously, just a lot of new pieces coming together too. They've battled some injuries early on in the year. They were missing their center and right guard at certain points throughout this season. They've had injuries in the backfield. Alton McCaskill hasn't really been able to come in and be the guy who we thought he was, and we thought that was going to be what settled this run game and what made it so lethal. We still haven't really seen him. He only got one carry last week. He played a bit at the end of the Oregon game. So it's all just a matter of that together. Makes it really hard for this team if it's not rolling on that very first series from the very first play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is such a unique matchup on both sides, right? Because each team has the injuries that they're going through. Obviously, CU with Travis Hunter, you mentioned Shiloh on the defensive side of the ball, and then ASU, man, we go out to practice, and it is just literally a lineup of guys that are in non-contact jerseys or that are out in the tent. And it's tough because I feel like both of these teams, like you mentioned earlier, right, they really hit the portal hard. They really hit recruiting hard. And I feel like it is almost it's hurt the national view of these two programs. Obviously, CU in a far different scenario because the results, like we talk about almost every day leading up to this matchup, right, is regardless of Deion being a first-year head coach at this level, he's got some results that he is able to at least appease the CU fan base. For ASU on the other side, you're one win right now with Southern Utah. And while we could say that they were competitive against USC or they were competitive against Cal or competitive against Oak State, like at the end of the day, competitive doesn't cut it in this industry. You know that. Like it is going to take, I think, a real perfect game almost for Arizona State to take down a team like CU. But with that said, regardless of what we feel, the books have Colorado as only, I think, a 4.5-point favorite. And it's been an interesting ride to see how the books have favored, I guess, just put up the odds for Arizona State. Last week, they were 13.5-point dogs to Cal, a team that was like,
Unreal.
that just felt, like you said, unreal to us. We knew 13.5 points was far too much for a Cal team. How do you feel about that 4.5-point spread in this game?
Honestly, I mean, I think it's a pretty well set line. I mean, we don't really know what CU is on the road still. They went in and beat TCU in that week 1 game. And obviously there was a lot of build up to that game, a lot of just narratives, not only just the football, but everything just about the doubts that this team saw in the offseason. And then you go to Oregon and you just get completely smoked. I mean, from the opening snap, it wasn't even close. So CU's looking, they're a little bit like they kind of play to their opponent type of stuff so far. I mean, really, besides the Nebraska game where they just flat out dominated. Even in that game, though, they had a slow start in that game. I think it was only 14 or 7-0 at halftime. So it's tough to say exactly what you're getting from this team on a week-to-week basis at this point. I do think that, -4.5 is around. That has me slightly uncomfortable, I think, on both sides. So I think it's a well-set line overall.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I think I like ASU, but I'm a little biased. I want to get back to like Travis Hunter for a second. How big of a loss is he? Because I mean, I feel like a lot of people are like, he plays both sides, cool, but like he's obviously quite talented. How big of a loss is he for this team?
It's hard to put into words. I mean, you literally lose 2 players.
Yeah.
Just because he plays both sides and he does it so well. I mean, he's without a doubt their best receiver and their best cornerback. So it changes everything. I mean, you have a guy who can go out there and be that lockdown receiver on one side of the field. I mean, we all know what that does in football when you have one side of the field locked down and how everyone can kind of play off of that. Well, now you don't have that. Now you're forced to bring in younger players, guys who are being thrown into the spotlight. So that's just defensively. On the offensive side of the ball, not having, that backside like X receiver, that dude that can win single coverage, that can be singled out there and just completely tilt the field in the offense's favor. We saw that last week because once Omarion Miller came in the game, towards the second half, and he was starting to play that role, play that backside X and make an impact just one-on-one in coverage. It just opens up everything. So they struggled with that. They struggled with it against CSU when he went out, obviously, but it carried on into Oregon, and really until last week, and when Omarion got in the game, they were still struggling to figure out how to run the offense. So it changes everything, man. I mean, he's a great kid too. He's a great football mind. So just not having that fiery presence on the sideline. I mean, he was there last week, but they're probably not going to have him this week because it's a road game, obviously. So it goes far beyond, just losing your best player. You're losing a guy that changes how you call the offense, changes how you call the defense, and a guy that really kind of is the heartbeat of the team in a way too.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to continue this conversation, obviously, because I've been known, at least around PHNX, to have some opinions on Coach Prime in that whole situation.
It's taking too long for that to get brought up.
Well, we'll get to that here in a second, but first I want to tell everybody watching and then listening at home, obviously, this is the PHNX Sun Devils show presented by Neutral. But on top of Neutral, we have so many phenomenal partners, starting with Four Peaks. Guys, nothing goes with football quite like an iced cold brew from Four Peaks. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It's like wings and ranch. And if you're a blue cheese person,
those both seem like direct attacks to me.
Well, yeah, you can't eat
I am
peanut
allergic
butter.
to peanut butter, and I'm from Buffalo, where wings and ranch are a sin.
Okay, they go together like Shawn and his grandma. How about that?
That's money.
There you go.
Most dynamic duo on the planet.
Well, next to Four Peaks in football, of course.
Of course, yeah. Second most dynamic duo on the
Shawn,
planet.
do you know what's back?
What's that?
Pumpkin porter season.
True.
It's back, guys. Get in the fall state of mind with notes of nutmeg, allspice, and, of course, toasted pie crust. It's back on the shelves and in draft lines throughout the Valley. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite brewery tours and events. Stein holding Oktoberfest and Haunted Brewery tours are right around the corner. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest. At Arizona's hometown brewery, you do got to be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly.
Your brother getting the Four Peaks yet?
My brother, he had a Four Peaks. I'm pretty sure he had a Wow when we went back to the house. And then after that, he was... He had his 21st birthday. He was out.
Did his 21st birthday include any OGs?
It did, actually.
Ooh, that's
I had to hook up.
I was going to say, that's
now.
a good big brother. Whether you're a big brother or young brother, or big sister, or grandma,
or
aunt,
a middle
uncle,
child.
just a stranger. Actually, don't. If you're a stranger, probably don't go around handing people OGs. That's questionable.
Yeah, they
Outside
probably
of that,
won't take them from
take
you.
OGs from people you trust because they are Arizona's #1 scratch-made THC-infused gummy. They got something for everybody.
Yes,
we always
they do.
talk about indica, sativa, microdose, happy balance, sleepy time, all of it. So check out our friends over at OG's Brands for yourself and try one or a few of their many delicious flavors. Check them out across all socials at OG's Brands and online at ogsbrands.com to find them at a local dispensary near you. You must be 21 or older, like Totri's brother, to enjoy responsibly.
Oh, we're keeping that bit alive, man.
It's an easy
You're right,
transition.
You're right. Absolutely. Jake, back to CU in ASU. I think you had brought up the fact that we had been talking about Kenny Dillingham for either one of these programs really for a while, since Herm got canned and then since CU had let go of their coach. And it was about, I want to say midway through or maybe a little bit past midway through last season. We were talking about Kenny. I don't think either one of us was really too much talking about Coach Prime, at least at that point. And then everything kind of, when it happened, I feel like from the jump, I wasn't a believer. Like I'm going to be honest. I wasn't a believer. First Power 5 job. It rubbed me the wrong way, the whole Jackson State thing. And then it really rubbed me the wrong way when all the stuff, the video had come out of him meeting with everybody and pretty much told them to get lost, in lack of better words. And like, I can't deny, obviously, the early success with TCU in Nebraska. However, I don't know yet if I'm still sold on him being the absolute answer for CU long-term, just because I think long-term for Prime at CU is 3 years tops before another job, maybe an SEC job, FSU, something opens up. Obviously, the success with ticketing and sales and all that stuff is great. I just personally feel like it's a matter of time before Prime does to you what he did to Jackson State. I could be wrong, but that's just my personal thoughts. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's so tough to say, and it's something that we talk about all the time, out here, is how long is he actually going to stay? I'll tell you this, just from, being around the program and just taking in everything the last 10 months, I genuinely think he loves it here. I genuinely think he feels the love from the city, from the fan base, from the communities around here. And, I mean, let's put it out. I mean, Boulder's a pretty white place. And Coach Prime has come here and he's brought some diversity to town. He loves seeing that. He mentions it all the time. And I just think he really likes it out here. But that being said, I mean, you bring up a good point. Who's to say that another school wouldn't come and, try and do the same thing that just happened to Jackson State with CU? So, you keep your eyes on that Florida State job. There is some weird, rivalry stuff that's kind of already brewed between Coach Prime and FSU fans. It started with Travis Hunter a few years ago because he flipped him from FSU to JSU. So that makes things a little weird there, but it's already a topic out here. Get this guy a lifetime contract, give him $100 million contract, whatever he needs to stay around. So I understand, the skepticism when it comes to long-term with this program, with Coach Prime being here. But I just feel like he really likes it here. He's not going to go to the NFL. He's repeatedly said he does not want to coach the NFL. He has a problem, he says, with guys who are paid a lot of money who aren't dogs, who don't want it, basically. Those are kind of the guys he's trying to recruit to CU, the guys that want to get mama off the street, stuff like that. That's what he's kind of preaching to these recruits and guys he brings in. So he's not going to the NFL, but to say that he'll be here 5 years from now, I mean, it's anyone's guess at this point. We'll find out if, all that revenue, ticket sales, all that stuff adds up and he gets a massive deal, this season, next offseason, whenever it is. But if you don't see it, in the next 2 or 3 years, I think it's pretty plain and simple right there.
I know CU was awful last year, right? I know they were bad, but am I the only one that thinks it is crazy that we're having the conversation of $100 million or lifetime contracts for a guy that's coached a 3-2 team?
I don't think it's crazy. I mean,
3-2.
But I mean, okay. First off, Michigan State did damn near the same shit, and that ended terribly. So, it's not like it's.
Do we not learn from these mistakes?
I mean, that's very different.
And I know Deion is not Mel Tucker.
I mean, I get it, right? Especially when you are as bad as Colorado was. There's a bunch of reasons to believe that Deion might want to leave in the future. If you can tie him up, what I wanted to ask you is, obviously you get all of this stuff that is great for the program, the higher level recruits, the boosters donating more money, higher ticket sales. But as an actual football coach, X's and O's, do you really think that once he starts getting those recruits that he wants to get, and if he gets Colorado to a point where they are genuinely competing for national championship, do you think he is the actual quality of coach to coach them to a national championship if they had that kind of talent?
I think so, man. I mean, this guy, you could talk about how he was kind of given this, or not given, but he had this opportunity to become a Power 5 head coach after only coaching 2.5, 3 seasons, depending on how you look at that 2021 spring COVID season for JSU. But this is a guy, he's been coaching, high school and youth football going back to basically since he retired, basically since he became a media figure working for CBS and then the NFL Network. He's been coaching football, and he obviously knows the game. We all know who he is as a player in the NFL. He's shown the ability not only to attract players, but great coaches too. And I think that's something that's really going to be the crutch that he stands on to help elevate, whether it's this team or whatever team he's coaching to the next level. He's got amazing connections. The stuff with Kenny Dillingham, he wanted to hire Kenny Dillingham for another job. Who knows where that was, by the way, but apparently they've already have some sort of relationship. And I mean, we just talked about it. Coach Prime saw what we saw in Kenny Dillingham. So he kind of gets it. He understands where the game is moving. He picked Mike Leach's brain to get his offensive coordinator hire at JSU last year, Brett Bartoloni. He brought him over to be the receivers coach now. Now Shawn Lewis is the OC, who was running a very high-octane and dynamic offense out there at Kent State. So say he even moves on. I think they've got the guys here at Colorado not only to promote and be effective in those coordinating positions, but man, his connections are just limitless. Honestly, he could go grab another coach if he needs to. That's pretty high caliber. So the doubts with him as a coach, to me, are over-exaggerated. I mean, this is a guy who's been around the game for a long, long time. He's forgotten more about football than many people know. So as a coach, I think he's doing just fine, and he will continue to do even better, honestly.
I do want to get back to the matchup, but last question, just kind of on Prime and the whole tenure, I guess, at CU. Realistically, let's say, and I guess the first part of this question isn't really realistic given the current circumstances, but let's say that FSU job somehow magically comes open in the next year or two. Say Norvell moves on, whatever. Realistically, if Deion gets that call, do you think he says no, or do you think he's gone?
It's so hard to say. I'm around 50-50. I mean, here's the thing. With CU, he was given this opportunity to kind of make this program in his fashion. I mean, CU was nothing before he got here. In almost every regard, he's been able to truly build a program how he wants it to be built. Rick George has basically handed him the keys to not only the football program, but I mean, he's helping recruit for basketball, for the women's lacrosse team. He's bringing his guys out to the soccer games and everything. Like, he is all about CU. But of course, it's FSU. I mean, that's where he got his start. That's where he played in college. He's got a deep connection with the coaches who he played for when he was there. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say. He's obviously a Florida guy at heart too. And I think this conference realignment stuff could play a lot into that. Obviously, the ACC is locked down as it seems for now, but who really knows in this climate of everyone changing, almost seemingly overnight. But it's really 50-50 for me. I mean, we're huge Mike Norvell. I've always been saying since he was hired in December, we're massive Mike Norvell fans.
Yeah, every week you guys have to be rooting for Florida State, right? Like, that's got to be, you're like, oh, yeah, perfect. Let's rise the AP poll and just stay there. Make sure Norvell's nice and comfy at Florida State.
Exactly. A bowl matchup between a ranked FSU and ranked CU almost seems like the dream at this point.
That seems like that might be the most televised non-Super
It'd be bigger than the Natty. It would be bigger than the Natty.
It'd be toxic too. It'd be
oh my god, there would be some terrible stuff that come out of that.
The video content that would come out of that stuff though would be amazing.
Oh, I feel like Deion would be on one. I would love it. But getting back to the actual matchup, I think for ASU fans, so they're looking at this Colorado team, if you're gonna their weakness is being the defense. I mean, people in the chat talking about how they're just like a downright terrible defense. I don't like. What is your read on the defense? Are they as bad as kind of I think the reputation has that now that they now have? Is that really that big of an issue for them?
Colorado's defense?
Yes.
I mean, look, man, I said it earlier. The strength of this team is in the back seven. It's in the secondary. It's in the safeties. It's in the experience you have at linebacker. The front is concerning. They've obviously let up a ton of yards. I think they've let up 200-plus rushing yards 3 times already this year. So I'm not going to come out here and say this defense is a world beater, but they've got players on the outside that can give you problems. I mean, Cam Silman-Craig is leading the Pac-12 in interceptions right now, and he's kind of playing that star slot defender role. So he's all over the field doing his thing. The safeties, they just keep reloading. I mean, Shiloh goes out, Rod Ward comes in. He played, I believe, at Southern Utah last year for the Thunderbirds and was highly productive, was an all-conference player there. He obviously was a backup, but he played really well last week. So defensively, yeah, there's going to be opportunities, I think, for ASU and honestly anyone to really take advantage of them and score some points given the, I guess, just how it's built. I mean, it's a lot of guys coming together, a lot of guys who are looking for that last chance, and defensively, they just haven't really had that pop yet. So there's definitely chances to take advantage of them defensively, but they bite back too. So they will take advantage of turnover opportunities. They get their hands on the football, they punch it out. So don't take them lightly, but they're probably going to be able to be moved on.
Yeah, it's funny because we have some ASU fans in the chat, and it's the ASU fans that are hating, talking about ASU offense is going to make the CU defense look like an NFL defense. But you look at this CU defense, you bring up the back seven, but this is still the worst defense in the Pac-12 numbers-wise, giving up the most total yards, second most passing yards behind Stanford, most rush yards, most points. They're a defense that has been a liability so far for Coach Prime's team, and I think you look at ASU, and this is their opportunity, really one of their first opportunities all season to go against a defense like this, where they've got a quarterback for the second straight week that is supposed to start with Trenton Bourguet. Yeah. You've got EK, you've got Jalen, you've got Scat, you've got all of these weapons now who have had at least a week under their belt with Trenton at the helm. I think this is very possibly going to be one of the highest scoring games that ASU is a part of this season. Not to say that the ASU defense is bad, because they're not. They're somewhere middle of the pack in terms of points allowed, yards allowed, etc. Do you think this game is set up to be a real shootout between ASU and CU?
I think so. I think it could be a similar game to last year. I mean, where say whoever gets up by 14 points, I mean, the other team's not going to be out of it. And that's the thing, I think, with this defense as well. I mean, you bring up all the numbers, and they have been bad when you look at them, but it's a kind of a double-edged sword, this offense, with the pace they move at. I mean, they can be, I don't know, a minute long 3 and out, and all of a sudden defense is right back out on the field. Even, we saw in the CSU game where Shiloh had a pick 6, and that made the score, I think, 7-0 at that point. And then all of a sudden you look, and it's, towards the end of the first quarter, it scores 7-7, and CSU's driving again because CU had a 3 and out, just because even with the pick 6, the defense has to go right back out there. Yeah. So it's tough, the dynamic of what they're trying to do given the players that they have right now. But just for this game, I agree. I think there could be a lot of scoring. I think it could be very back and forth. I don't think if anyone's leading by any amount, really, it's not going to be over until the final whistle. Yeah. So I expect it to be a fun game again. I mean, last year's game was great. It was probably the most entertaining game CU had, honestly.
Yeah, that's not a great thing, though, for ASU fans, considering how bad CU was at the time. I mean, ASU wasn't a whole hell of a lot better. Last couple questions, though, but before we get you out of here. The title of this episode is literally the roadmap to how ASU and Kenny can really shock the nation and take down a team like the Buffs. If you're on the opposite side here and you're coaching against CU and Coach Prime, where do you start? How do you go about your recipe for success to beating Coach Prime?
Great question. Offensively, so for ASU offensively, running the football, big plays, just being opportunistic, staying down on penalties. And this is something that's really impressed me about CU to this point. With all these new pieces, all these new players, new coaches, they've been really disciplined and they haven't been penalized a lot. So you kind of have to match them at that level and then just force them into situations they don't want to be in. Get them into 3rd and long, put pressure on Shedeur. Just be opportunistic in your chances and don't, try to play outside of yourself. Don't overextend, because that's when you get into penalties and mistakes. We saw that against Nebraska. That's literally why they lost that game. They kept getting penalized. They kept turning the ball over, and then it just became a snowball. I mean, CU struggled early in that game, but it's really Nebraska that let them build up that massive lead. So if you can just be explosive offensively and create havoc on defense, I think that anyone could have a chance to take it to this team. But it's just, once you get in there, it's really the talent level. I mean, do you have a quarterback that can hang with Shedeur? Obviously, Bo Nix was able to. Chandler Morris was able to in some regard. Trenton Bourguet is going to have to step up to the plate. You're going to need guys like Elijah Badger to get behind the secondary and create a big play. You're going to need stuff like that to really have a chance to beat this team. So they're not invincible. They're very talented. But, they have their flaws just like almost any other team.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, obviously you're going to be out here this weekend, and we're looking forward to getting y'all out here on Mill, and we're going to definitely have a good time. But on Saturday, who do you think comes out on top, man?
I got to go with CU. Shedeur is just locked in, man. He is he's different.
Shedeur at home. Tell him he's cool to stay at home. It's all good.
I mean, Travis is staying home. Who knows? Shedeur might not want to make Travis feel lonely and stay home too. But no, man. I mean, CU. There's a lot that this team is still working through, and the growing pains are evident. They need to get better in multiple areas, but when it comes down to the end of the day, Shedeur is just one of the best quarterbacks in the country, if not the very best. He's just ice cold. As long as that guy's leading the way, I'm going to be picking CU as far as they can go, really.
For sure. It's like we said, it's going to be a fun game, and I think if we were on the opposite side, we'd probably be saying the same exact thing. Jake, thanks so much for the time, man, and like we said, looking forward to getting you out in Tempe.
Thank you, guys. Can't wait to hang out with y'all this weekend.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Guys, one of the best parts about DNVR coming to Tempe is that their first stop is going to have to be Burrito Express because we tell you every day how damn good Burrito Express is. They got locations all over the valley, and they literally have the best burritos, not just in Arizona, not just in the country, not just in the world. I'm going to go ahead and say they have the best burritos that reality has to offer, which extends beyond galaxies and universes and all that stuff. They are the go-to spot. Reality? Yes.
Does
reality extend past universes and galaxies?
Yeah.
Think about it.
I am thinking about it.
Think harder. Guys, Burrito Express. Go check it out. Get yourself a burrito and follow my social at BurritoEXP.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far with BetMGM because I'm not exactly sure about the legality of betting outside the realm of reality. But here in Arizona,
or just the morals to it.
Yeah, but here in Arizona, it's very legal. And if you're going to be sports betting, you got to be sports betting on BetMGM. I know we're going to be placing some bets this weekend. Big Bills. I'm going to be getting up at 6:30 in the morning to watch the Bills take on the Jags in London, and you can bet your ass that if I'm getting up that early, I'm going to be putting some money on the game because that's the only thing that's going to keep me awake. And of course, like I said, I'm going to be doing it on BetMGM.
Yes, sir.
And now is the time to get on BetMGM because if you place your first BetMGM offer using bonus code sign up for BetMGM, use bonus code PHNX, and when you place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10, you're going to receive $200 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. You can use some of that money to bet on the Arizona Diamondbacks to win the World Series, which I did yesterday. They were plus 3,000, I think, yesterday, and something tells me that those odds got better after last night. And some tells me they're going to get better after tonight. Because we got Hoodie Gowan on the mound, and he's going to Milwaukee. Anyways, get on BetMGM. Check out the full show notes for details. And now, listen to Shay now, who's in Arizona, actually, believe it or not.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
We got a couple predictions in the chat. Shawn saying my prediction: ASU 31, CU 28.
I think
FYI.
If you're gonna come in this chat with the name Shawn, you got to change it. I'm sorry.
You can't have the same name as you.
There's not
same spelling
because everyone's in the chat being like, "I agree with you, Shawn," and I'm like, "What did I say?" And then I'm like, "Oh, they're talking about Shawn Benitez," and I'm like, "Okay." Thought this was my show, but whatever.
Whoa,
our
show.
But you know what I meant.
Keck in the chat. 48-35 high scoring, but Colorado has too many weapons offensively this year. Look, we'll get into the predictions and that whole thing as the week goes on because I think it is certainly going to be interesting. I don't know where you fall on this side of the I guess prediction, and we'll get to that on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, you said last week that was going to be your last time betting them to win a game.
I know.
Picking them to win a game. We'll see if you stick to those guns.
We will. Look, we've talked a lot, obviously, about Coach Prime and this matchup. And Coach Prime, that tweet went pretty viral the other day talking about how the two of them almost worked together. So, of course, when we got Kenny in front of the media today, it was one of the first questions asked was, first off, is that true? What was that whole situation like? And this was Kenny's response.
It's a true statement. I have a lot of respect for Coach Prime. I said in my media the other day. I recruited Shedeur. He's a phenomenal player, and one of the things I learned in that process was when I recruited Shedeur, I didn't recruit at that time Deion Sanders. He let me recruit his son, and I respected that a lot. The fact that you have this guy who's accomplished everything you could accomplish in football, and he didn't make the process in his son's recruitment about him. So I gave a lot of respect to him to kind of get out of the way. And yes, did he play the father figure in the process and ask the father figure questions? He did, but he let his son go through his process, and I have a lot of respect for that, just with him. And everybody says, oh, Deion Sanders now Coach Prime, and it's all about him. But I got to see a side of that where he said, no, it's not. This is about his son's process, and that's why I have a lot of respect for him.
That's such a unique situation and relationship that those two have. Now, obviously, coaching on opposite sides of each other, but you think about these coaches and the level of respect they have for each other, not just Kenny and Deion, right? Looking at all these coaches, obviously, doing a difficult job, a job with such high pressure, and, there's a lot of outside noise. But, again, looking at this relationship kind of specifically, I don't know if I've ever heard of a relationship kind of like the one that Kenny and Deion have, where Kenny was literally at another university and he was recruiting Deion, who now they're facing each other, his son. Yeah. And I understand that level of respect of Deion has kind of done everything in terms of football and really sports in general. Yeah. And he kind of stayed out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people forget that Deion is one of the greatest athletes to ever live. Quite literally, he played baseball, which in and of itself is hard. He's been on record saying that hitting a baseball is the hardest thing he's had to do in sports. So eat your heart out for the people that don't think baseball's a sport, you fucking losers. But yeah, I think that's the biggest misconception about Deion is that you can have a lot of opinions on him because I was with you. I had a lot of problems with how he handled Jackson State and all that.
Don't get me wrong. I still don't agree with it.
100%. But I think one of the big, he clearly loves his kids. He is clearly wants the best for his children. And someone made the point in the chat, when we were talking about how long he's going to actually stay at Colorado, someone said, he's just doing this for his kids. And once they're gone, who knows if he'll even keep coaching? Yeah. Which again, who knows? But he quite clearly has a very close relationship with his kids, specifically Shedeur. And I think that is one thing, like I said, that is often misconceived about him is that I think people just think he's this giant douchebag, and I don't really think that's the case. He's obviously very
polarizing.
Polarizing and very cocky and all of that, and a showman, but I don't think he's a bad person by any means. No. Which you can't say for every Division I football coach.
That's fair. I do want to get to Shawn's comment. If ASU beats CU, does it erase the national love fest that everyone is giving CU?
No, because CU was already lost a couple of games. I think.
But I feel
I
feel like this one's a little different.
Yeah, I feel because then you've lost, what, is it 3 straight for them? Or no?
Yeah. 3 straight.
They beat Colorado State.
Yeah, but you have lost to Oregon, USC,
and
State. Yeah, and you still have yet to win a game in conference.
And I think this is and this becomes the game where it's okay, you can lose to USC and Oregon. You can lose to them by a lot. But yeah, you lose to an ASU team, and it's an
ASU team that's on its third quarterback technically and has been beaten by injuries
and only has 1 win, and they barely won that game over Beds and then Utah. I don't think it will end it because it's still going to be Deion and people are still going to be fascinated by that team, but they're going to stop treating them like a top 25 team. I think
they already have.
Kinda. It's hard.
They don't even look in the same class as the top 25.
No, I mean they aren't. But people have been treating them like that, regardless of the fact that they aren't. I don't think. Again, I was saying it after they beat TCU. That TCU win was impressive, but not that impressive to me. I do feel like it'll be a little bit of a people stop talking about, but at the same time, Keck's making the point that as it's not about CU, it's about Deion. And as long as Deion's there, they're going to be in the spotlight. To a certain extent, people are still going to keep talking shit about Deion. Deion's still going to be being Deion. Shedeur's still going to be Shedeur. And there's still going to be things that are going to put them in the spotlight. So I don't think they're going to, go away by any means. But, I don't know. As far as, scheduling goes and stuff like that, what times they are on and what channels, I think you might see a little bit you know, a little slow down.
May temper down a little bit. Look, I think to even get to that point, it's obviously going to take a win from ASU, and that starts on, I think, the defensive side of the ball with the fact that ASU is going against a high-powered CU offense. Dylan Edwards, Shedeur Sanders, obviously one of the top quarterbacks in this conference. That's not named Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., or Bo Nix. But defensively for the Sun Devils, it's been such a wild ride, I feel like, even up to this point, because you talk about this defense and they're middle of the pack. In some categories, they're higher up the pecking order in terms of some specific team stats, but it's really tough to judge because of, I feel like, the position sometimes that the offense has to put them in. It's obviously a far more difficult scenario. You look even back to last game, like the offense doesn't even get one more go round if ASU doesn't stop Cal at the 1 yard line. Yeah. Right? Like a turnover on downs, if they score, it's over. Or you look at that 8-minute drive or however long that Cal had to really, it was a gut punch to ASU in that game in that fourth quarter. So it's been a really, really tough ride for the ASU defense, and Brian Ward was asked about it, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of the process. I keep talking to our guys about consistently good and on occasion great. And it just takes, sometimes things take time. And football is it's just really a good example or metaphor for life. I mean, you can have everything and do everything possible to be successful. You can take all the right steps, do all the right things during the week, and things may not work out. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you got to just keep it pushing. And our guys are a good group. First, it starts with our guys and their relationships and they're playing for each other. And, we really try to instill that in our guys. So it's really not about what's happening. And if anything, it's building more resiliency for our guys. We're still having good practices. Our guys are continually moving forward and understanding the system a little better. And we want to win. That's the purpose of, that's why we play. We compete to win. And there's no moral victories or anything like that. And so we feel the same way at the end of a loss. And, the reward is winning. So, those are going to come if we continue to do things right.
I mean, was one thing I was going to bring up when Jake was on. You could think what you want about this defense, but regardless of how good the defense is being, it's a much better situation to be here when you can look at this defense and be like, okay, if they had an offense that could stay on the field for a little bit, who knows what they'd be able to accomplish. Yeah. Whereas US or if you're Colorado, right? It's not about the offense not staying on the field because it's not they're scoring points. They're doing their job. It's just like Jake brought up how they call that offense, how fast paced they are. Even when they're succeeding, the defense doesn't have whole lot of time to rest. So it is really encouraging. This is a really good defense. It's just once they can kind of put everything together and the offense can leave the defense on the sideline a little bit more. Like I said, who knows what they're going to be able to accomplish? It is. I mean, this defense is good, man. Again, I think they've had to play some very difficult teams, and they've also had to play some not good teams. But I think in those moments you see them they rise to the occasion. You mentioned the stop against Cal. They definitely kind of have a bend don't break type of thing where it feels like teams are working down the field, but eventually that defense is going to get a stop at some point. I like to see them get more takeaways and do stuff like that. But again, I think a lot of that stuff will come when they're a little more rested and the offense is not putting them in such tough situations.
Look, if we've seen anything from this ASU team is they find a way to rally and come back. Just because they're 1-4 doesn't mean that this is a team that is going to lay down and just kind of let the season go by any means. Or 1-5. What are they? They're 1-4 now.
ASU 1-4.
Yeah, 1-4.
Right.
Let's see. They lost to SC, Cal, Oklahoma State. Yeah, 1-4.
Yeah, 3 non-conference.
Yeah.
2.
This is a team that's got fight to them, and I think you saw them get up for that USC game specifically at home, and it almost plays to their favor that CU is a national darling right now, because at this point CU has put a target on their back the same way that USC and Oregon and Washington have targets on their back, except the only thing on this side of it is CU was not an Oregon, they're not a Washington, they're not an SC. So when you get to Saturday's game, and I think that's kind of why the spread is what it is the books kind of see past the national darling narrative that Colorado is right now. And I think there's some people in the chat that see that as well, right? Of like, ASU has the pieces to go out there and really take it to this Colorado defense. That's, I mean, what Jake was talking about with Scat, right? Like, Scat's an impressive force. Jalen Conyers had 6 catches over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns against CU
especially
last year.
when you're like the one thing you're hanging your hat on is Colorado defense is the secondary. Like, it's not the front 7.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and the secondary is giving up the 2nd most passing yards behind Stanford.
Oh, true. But
like,
yeah.
This is an opportunity, again, just like every other time so far. It's been an opportunity, and this one may be ASU's best outside of Cal.
And I think the real interesting part about this, kind of like what you're getting at, is like they definitely got up for the USC game, right? But USC is just clearly a significantly better team, specifically offensively, than ASU is. So like even getting up for that is whatever. Cal, it's going to be hard to get up for Cal when you go to that stadium and there's 500 people there, and Cal's not a good team. This is a very interesting situation because it's a team that has the hype of a top tier team, but doesn't have that level of talent. So I don't think ASU is going to have any problem getting up for this game. And then they're going to get on the field, and I think at a certain point they're going to realize they're just better than Colorado, at least in parts of the game, right? I'm not going to say like Shedeur is better than Trenton. I feel very comfortable saying that. Obviously, Hunter's not playing, but Hunter's probably better than anyone ASU has. Certainly a winnable game. Donald's saying 400-yard Trenton this week. Like why not? Yeah. Like he's shown that he can do it before, especially against subpar defenses, and that's certainly what this is here. I think this could be a good weekend for ASU football.
And Keck in the chat, be careful playing with stats. They can lie in football. See, but this is I disagree entirely, because when you talk about a game, you're talking about stats. When I'm talking about 5 weeks through the season, I'm talking about trends. They're totally different. This is the second worst or worst defense in the Pac-12. That is Colorado. That's not numbers. That's not anything. That is what they are. They are that bad, right? Like numbers, regardless. That's what they are. The numbers through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. If I give you,
I disagree.
If I give you a week of data, right? If I give you a week of content that I have put together, right? You could be like, okay, maybe this happened this week, or maybe this happened this week. Okay, I give you 2 weeks of data. You have a little bit more of an idea. Maybe this happened. Maybe this happened. If I give you a month and change of data, that is what I am. That is the trend.
That's not.
That is true. That is absolutely the case.
No, because
what do you mean?
Context is important.
What's the context?
No, okay. Well, let's look at ASU. If you just show me this offense and like they suck, that's not fair to ASU's offense. That's not the case. They don't have an offensive line. They've played 4 different quarterbacks. Their tight end, who was supposed to be their star player, was out at a point. Like, that context is important. I think like as far as CU is concerned, I don't think it's like game changing. It's going to turn them from the worst defense to the best defense. But Travis Hunter being out for the last 2 weeks, that does matter. It matters as far as their offense is concerned too. Him not being available for the Oregon game where they only put up 6 points, like that matters. So I like context is certainly important. I agree though that like at a certain point, like their defense is just awful. I that is, as far as Colorado was concerned. Certainly, I think the defense is what the defense is. Like, it's just not a good defense. Travis Hunter's not changing that. That is what it is. I'm just more on principle disagreeing with the idea that, like, numbers are numbers. Like, stats never lie.
I'm not saying that, but that's what I'm trying to say, is that the numbers in this case tell me that Colorado is the worst defense or the second worst defense.
I think the better way to put it is that in this case, the numbers are telling the truth. Like, the numbers do match the reality.
And there is context to this, but there's also consistency in numbers that also prove trends. That is math. That is literally there's a whole 100%. Subject dedicated to that.
I agree that Colorado's defense is not good, and that the numbers certainly suggest that. I think that they are a bottom 3 defense in Pac-12, and they are statistically bottom 3 in every statistical category. So that I agree. I'm just saying, like, by and large, to say that like you can look at the numbers and that tells you the whole story, like. That's not the case. Again, it is with Colorado, but by and large, like you look at ASU, I think the numbers that they have, that like the statistically, is wildly misleading to what ASU football is.
But it is also, I don't know if it is wildly misleading to what ASU football is. I think it is wildly misleading to what ASU football could be. It doesn't tell that side of the story.
Yeah, I
because
guess.
Right now,
but
consistently, ASU offensively is not a good team, regardless of the talent that they have, regardless of EK, regardless of Jalen, regardless of Scat.
But like if you're going into play ASU and you're just looking at the stats and you're like, oh, they suck, whatever. And then you show up and it's like, oh no, they might have the best running back in the conference. And also a guy that was supposed to be a top 10 tight end in the country. Like the numbers are not, I think the numbers can tell you, okay, this is not a good defense, right? But why aren't they a good defense? I think it's important to add more context than just looking at the numbers and being like, they're not good.
So in other words, stats can lie sometimes.
Sometimes.
Thank you. I can't tell you mean smart ass.
I think he was agreeing with me and being a smart ass towards you. Yeah,
that's fine. Well, like it's that you should have the common sense at this point to know like the situation.
Yeah,
right?
But also you don't need the only numbers you really need are look at their fucking scores. Like they give up a shit ton of points every week, and yeah, like they are not.
Doesn't matter who they play; they're giving up points.
Yeah, they're just not a very good defensive team. So I don't know why I started arguing with you on principle, even though I ultimately
we're kind of on the same
we kind
side.
of agree, but that's kind of just how I get down, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You had a very strong opinion on something. That's not new.
Jose, grr, mean face. That's kind of just where I was at. Just grr.
Everybody in the chat is entitled to their own opinion.
Or as I like to say, everyone in the chat, or just everyone's entitled to their own incorrect opinion.
That's how you're going to do it?
That's how I say that to people all the time.
Well, look, we can agree, we can disagree. Regardless, we appreciate all of you. We also appreciate Spaghetti Shack.
True.
Spaghetti Shack coming through this week with some delicious meatballs. Love making some meatball subs when they come through. And if you didn't know, it's an ASU alum owned and operated. They serve a menu with spaghetti, meatballs, garlic bread, and a few other fan favorites. Guys, it is seriously some of the best spaghetti and meatballs that I have ever had.
Meatballs go crazy.
The meatballs, when they come in here, dude, I literally have to go get a plate of just meatballs because they are that amazing. They're community focused. It's a to-go concept. It's not really like anything that I've ever seen before, to be honest with you. Enjoy delicious spaghetti, meatballs, and more at any of their 4 Arizona locations. You guys can learn more at thespaghettishack.com.
You guys want to know a little fun fact?
Is this like another like there's a Circle K Burrito Express crossover fun fact?
Sort of. I actually took the reference photos for the Spaghetti Shack.
Really?
Holy shit!
And I had them pay me in garlic bread.
Oh, that is quite literally money.
That's
I guess are quite literally not money.
Nah,
but,
it's quite literally not money.
But it quite literally is payment. It's quite literally bread. You got that bread, Danielle. That's
got that bread.
The only sad part is you cannot use garlic bread to buy stuff off.
This is true.
You're going to have to use real money, but trust me, it's worth it because Foco is the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. The product line of bobbleheads like you see on the screen here. Cool apparel, like this hat. That grunting was probably really weird to our audio listeners.
Yeah, no, really weird.
But a variety of apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, things like that. Foco always has our back for Arizona sports, and they have yours too. So go get the best gear around by visiting www.foco.com and using code PHNX for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHNX for 10% off.
Absolutely. Keck in the chat. What I want to see is improvement each week from the coaches and players. Kenny is a right man, and he will right the ship. I think we all can agree on that. Totri, head to Wendy's and get the pumpkin spice frosty. I might need to. That sounds kind of fire.
I like Donald other message. My best opinion: stats, wins, or losses. Fuck it. See you.
There you go, Keck. The only number that matters is wins and losses. Yeah, the only number that matters is that final score. Remember?
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it goes, guys. We appreciate everybody in the chat today. Do us a favor. Do Bobby Hurley a little favor. Hit that like button. He begs, he pleads every single day. And if you didn't know, if you just hopped on for the first time, this is the PHNX Sun Devils show presented by these guys, Neutral. I don't know if you've ever had a Neutral before, but they are some of the best seltzers.
They're my favorite seltzers
around.
Listen, there's too many other seltzers that I have that are like too sugary.
Yeah.
And I can't. I'm not like if I'm going out to drink, like I'm not getting cocktails. Like I'm just gonna drink straight liquor normally because I can't, or I'm gonna get a tequila soda because I can't do all that sugar. These ones taste like kind of like
vodka seltzers, right?
Yeah, vodka seltzers, and they it's just real fruit juice, sparkling water, and natural flavors.
And
like
you know what's awesome?
It's not
you know
too
what's
much.
so awesome that I don't think Max knew? Today's National Vodka Day.
Is it really?
It is. So go get yourself a Neutral and celebrate National Vodka Day because that's the right thing to do. It's also the right thing to do. Give us a follow over at PHNX Sun Devils. You could follow me on social and Anthony _Totri. You could follow Senor Taco over here at Shawn _DePaz.
Stuff in my face immediately before the show, as always.
And we will see you guys Thursday at 2 p.m. for some more fun. But in the meantime, peace.
We all silly like the mayor.